What up, meatheads? It's been a while. We're back from summer break. How did everyone fare this summer? Did you guys water sports, go on vacation, spend time with your families? Or did you just relax at home listening to your favorite podcast, reruns, and reminiscing of older episodes? Fall is here, which means the weather is changing. It's grazing season. It's also the busiest season of harvesting, fair animals, and hunting season. In this week's episode, I am happy to be joined by Mike Abdul from Jarvis and Charles.Bildstein, or we call him Chuck, from Bunzel. I'm really a fan of this episode because I learned so much. I have used Jarvis products for my entire career in this industry, and I get to learn the history. I get to learn the other things they offer. You know, guess the origin story of the Jarvis wellsaw. Did you know it had to do with a family whose last name was Wells? Listen to this episode and you can learn how a tool that was meant to help demolition almost half a century ago is used by almost every meat processor in America.
Good cutting enhances the quality of good meat. In his way, the meat cutter is an artist. Poor cutting results in an inferior piece of meat, regardless of quality.
Bunzel Processor Division has been in the food processing and packaging industry for over 135 years, offering over 35,000 of high-quality products designed specifically to meet the needs of the meat processing, butchery, food processing, janitorial, and industrial industries. BPD also specializes in packaging equipment and supplies, offering the Multivac P-Series line of chamber packaging machines as well as the Clarity line of shrink bags, roll stock films, and vacuum pouches. They have numerous product experts, and they offer free UPS ground shipping on orders of $400 or more. It's October, it's game processing season, and Bunzel is giving away a Jarvis 404 well saw. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is check out the show notes. There will be a link. And this contest ends on Halloween, October 31st. Winners will be called November 1st. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's talk about what you do. Tell me who you are, just the basic elevator pitch of who Mike is.
All right. My name is Mike Abdul. I'm the Executive VP of Manufacturing, Operations, and Facilities at Jarvis. I have been with the company actually on September 16th of this year. I started into my 48th year.
Wow.
I've seen a lot of change and, been here as part of the company to go through all of the changes in our industry. It's been an exciting time.
Nice. And then how did you get your start working with Jarvis?
I started working here I was in a submarine force, Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was discharged in 1974, it was actually the first place I came to, applied for a job. Didn't know anything about the company.
Mm-hmm.
I started here, and actually in the they didn't have a maintenance department. I was the maintenance department.
Okay.
My background was in all types of systems. I had everything from electrical through hydraulics and pneumatics, and so a good education from the Navy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would hope so, and I imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started with the company back in '74, September '74.
Mm-hmm.
By 1976, we were starting into development of new products. They had been working on a few different products at the time when I started. That was basically they were looking at a reciprocating hydraulic reciprocating saw for splitting animals.
Mm-hmm.
They've been working on that for a few years, and then we got the idea to create a hydraulic reciprocating saw for beef briskets.
Okay.
And so I worked on that with our engineer department and went out into the field to do all of the in-field testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest after that, that led into more engineering work than actual maintenance of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
And then by 1978, I took over engineering. This is when we first started with the bandsaw, which is our HO80 for splitting animals. We didn't have a good go with it. It was a very, very tough sell. Plants looked at that thin bandsaw blade and all they could think about was broken blades.
Yeah.
And so we had a very difficult time getting any traction on that. Of course, our core product of the company is our dehyder.
Mm-hmm.
That was going along very well. Then we had the brisket saw, which was getting traction. The bandsaws were not.
Okay.
Until there was a little company out in Nebraska who they were really, I would say, ahead of the curve in terms of our industry. These guys were looking at, way back then, they were looking at ergonomics before that became even a term.
Mm-hmm.
They were time studying the operations, looking at the workload on their employees, and looking for better ways. And they brought the bandsaw in not as a way to. We were talking about it. Basically, what they were looking for was the ergonomics portion of it, the noise, the vibration, elimination of that everybody was experiencing with the reciprocating saws.
Mm-hmm.
So they assigned an engineer to it, and what happened was that halfway through the run in the morning, we were running right beside a reciprocating saw, and he noticed the bone dust differences.
Mm-hmm.
So at the break, he had his guys go in and scrape off all the bone dust that was accumulated from the reciprocating saw and the little pile that was on the floor from the bandsaw.
Mm-hmm.
And he weighed that, and they determined at the time that based on just the bone dust alone, they could save they could gain back about a half a pound to 3/4 pound of product.
Okay.
Yeah. So the advantages of the saw, which he was looking for initially, which was the ergonomics,
Mm-hmm.
took second place.
Yeah, you got to get that margin.
Right. So they published these guys were very, like I say, very progressive. They didn't hide anything from the industry. So if they found something better, a better way, they published that. And they put an article out into the Provisioner at the time and talked strictly about the savings, the gain in meat product.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history. I mean, we were absolutely inundated with calls and orders for saws.
Yeah. One of my first jobs in this industry, I've worked with your dehiding equipment. We just used to call them electric knives. It's an aromatic. I know you know what it is, but our audience may not. You hold it and it has two blades that are kind of circle-ish that vibrate with each other, and you hold that in between the hide and the lane, and it just helps. It makes it easy. I had air compressor issues, and then you have to side by hand, and then you really wish you had that piece of equipment next to you. And then a job that I had for about 2 years, I worked at the eviscerating splitting station using the Jarvis Buster on one of those zero gravity things, the two-handed, and I couldn't imagine doing that job with just a reciprocating saw. That would,
when we started out and really the bandsaw started to take hold, I was traveling quite a bit at that time. We were developing different versions of the original saw, so we'd gone from the HO80 to our Buster 2, and in the Buster 2, in around if I remember by the years, so in 83 was the Buster 3, in 84 the Buster 4, and 85 the Buster 5. And these are the mainstays of the Buster 4 and 5 are mainstays of the industry today. We introduced a Buster 9, bypassing the 7 and 8. We did some work on the 7 and 8, but the 9 is really came into being because customers were looking for onboard sanitation. So we added that with the 9. It still does not make it the most popular saw. The most popular is still the 4s and 5s. 4s for fat cattle and the 5s for cows and bulls.
It was a Buster 5 I was using.
Yeah, so the saws have had iterations over the years. Not too much change, but our what they have is great utility and very, very high reliability. So what we did as a company is that we basically take everything to the extreme in terms of our manufacturing. I know that Chuck's been here many times. I don't think that there's anyone out there in our line of product that matches us on that end of it.
No, it's an incredible facility, Mike. I've been there, I don't know, probably 10 to 15 times in the last 5 years. And it's still, to me, it's just remarkable to see the factory floor and how you operate. Pretty neat to see. And I'd tell anybody out there in the audience, if you have an opportunity to ever be in the Middletown, Connecticut area, if you're in that area, make a call and see if you can get a chance to come out and visit Jarvis. It would be well worth your time to take a look at it.
Yeah, I would be interested in that.
Yeah, some of the things that we were, Jarvis as a company has been in business since 1903. It's a family-owned business. For myself, I am now working with the 4th generation. But the Jarvises have, they're not, I don't think they're the norm in terms of the people I know in industry, and they are, they put a lot of their money back into the business in terms of technology and improvement of product. Things that we do that really no one else is doing. The gears that go into all of our products are ground. That's really reserved in this area of the country for the aerospace industry. But we were, part of our business when I started here was in the machine tool industry. We made live tooling or fixed heads that went onto very large transfer machines that were used in the automotive manufacturing. So you were going to, as an example, in 1986, which is the first year that General Motors introduced the new Corvette, the LT1 engine, we manufacture all the heads for manufacturing that engine. So the block intake manifolds, exhaust manifolds, all of the components that were machined as part of the main of the engine, we made the heads for that.
Wow.
And that's still being manufactured today by a company out in the Midwest, who now it's all after product now. We did things like the Boeing Air Launch Cruise Missile that's put together on our machines. We did many, many, many different products in the automotive industry, electrical industry, in the machine tool side of our business. That's a small part of what we did today. Our meat machinery business is our mainstay. I personally, that's my favorite part of the business. I traveled in the automotive and I traveled in the aerospace early years, and I quite honestly didn't really care for it. I just love the people in the meat side of it. Everybody comes every day to work. They're hard charging. Tell you what, they tell it like it is, which is an outstanding thing to hear. But what we became over the years is that company that will get down and dirty with the customer. You have a problem, we have a problem. We don't walk away from anything. So it's and I think we gained a reputation, and I think Chuck can attest to that, over the years as being that company that will, when you have a problem, we're going to be there.
It's addressed.
And we're going to be there until it's fixed.
One of the things, Mike, that's always impressed me with the visits is, I don't get a chance to stop and visit with your production floor folks, but maybe if you could kind of fill us in a little bit. I've been impressed with the tenure of your employees and the generational folks, the families.
In my time here, we have it working in the shop right now. Our average length of years with the company right now, of course, we're hiring in new help simply because we need to with the growth in business. But our average length of tenure with this company is around 12 years.
12.
That's very high. Until the last 2 years, it was around 17 years. Mm-hmm. So we have fathers and, well, some instances, grandfathers and sons and their sons that work here. We're still that type of company. We have a lot of fathers and sons that work here. Also, mothers and sons and daughters that work here. So it's a family business that thrives on the fact that we are good to our people. We know everyone by first name. We know about their families. Very important to us. And it has always been that for my tenure here. It hasn't been otherwise. We are one of the very few companies that exist today that does not have voicemail. We don't believe in it. We think when somebody calls, they should get a human on the other end of it, mm-hmm. and you should be able to take their call and do something for them quickly.
Wow!
So that's the difference. That's one of the differences about us in our manufacturing. I don't think there's anyone. Actually, there's, and I'm not saying this in a bragging way because we're told by the people that we buy machinery from that at this point in history, there is nobody doing more with the types of machinery that we have than we are. We run the largest transfer system in the country today, 194 pallets on 7 machines.
Wow.
But no one else is doing that yet, not in the U.S. anyway.
I just want to talk about. I wanted to say your attention to quality. If you guys are designing stuff in the past for the space industry and the automotive industry, and it just goes to show, like when you design your stunning tester, which is a very important in our industry, that you guys have the understanding and design stuff that goes into space. So the attention for rating the stunning quality of your equipment is huge and amazing that people could trust what you guys do on that end.
Well, we take that experience that we had in the automotive and aerospace. We brought that into the meat side of the business. One of the things that we constantly look for in design is serviceability. We want the tools to be the best that they can be, for ergonomic as they can be for the operator. But we realize that the industry is such that as I always tell the guys, in this industry, they can break an anvil. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's just a tough business to be in. It's that hot water, the acids that are being used today, all of the operations that go, they're the animals themselves. Mm-hmm. That you deal with. So we look at those all of our products, and when we say at some point in time it has to be maintained. How can we design this so that guy that doesn't have experience can do that? And we don't just look at it. We know we can build a lot of different things. We can put a lot of technology into it, but at the end, you want to make sure that whoever's going to maintain out there can in fact do that. We've carried that through the product line for all the years I have been here, and we will continue to do that. We've, in addition to all of, we've introduced some very unique products over the year. Of course, starting with the industry-changing products as an example. The bandsaw was an industry-changing product. The dehyders are industry-changing products because they allowed the skill level to come down, and they allowed much greater productivity. In the pork side of the business, when we came out with the bung dropper, another industry-changing product.
Yeah,
it was the worst operation on the kill floor you could have was bunging. When we introduced that tool to the industry, it made it one of the easiest. Many other things that we
too.
It is absolutely one of the most important things that they do. But over the years, a lot of the things that you don't think much about, tongue bone cutters that used to be done with a shear.
Yeah, I've seen those big shears used before to break that joint.
Yeah, so here we're coming along with a pneumatic tool that can do that very easily and quickly. The horn cutters that we introduced, both the guillotine style horn cutters, with cup blades that we can get underneath the ossified bone, and made it a lot easier for the plants to remove hides.
Yeah.
So the big innovation, we saw the problem that they were having once the industry went to down pullers, where they were pulling animals off the rail. And we introduced a tool called the BHR1, which is it's used to restrain the hocks while they're doing the down pulling. It was a tremendous tool in the industry. And on the beef side, it saved countless millions of dollars in lost product. Nobody builds a plant today without putting that in. And plants that are older that don't have them, put them in. So, and it's not just here; it's worldwide today. We sell them all over the world. Just a lot of introduction of different tools over the years. The hydraulics that we do, the reliability of hydraulics, our pneumatic tools where we constantly work on the efficiencies of the motors to lower the air consumptions. We run the lowest air consumption of any tool in the industry today, period. Not just our industry, but in all industries that use air tools.
Okay. And I just want to talk about the hawk shacklers that, if you're in a small plant and you're just doing a hide pull, what that prevents is the spine separating, which it usually happens around your porterhouse and tenderloin, which is like your most money-making steak. So preventing that increases your margin.
Oh yeah, and we went from all the large plants doing this. So what we do now is we pair our hawk restrainer now with the drum style pullers manufactured by a few companies out there in the industry right now. These are for the smaller plants. They want production and they want good clean hides, but they still have the issue of pulling those animals down because of what happened for me over the years as my observations over time was when I started, animals had a lot of fat on them. The lean that we have today didn't exist back then. When I started in the industry, plants were still shrouding. I don't think there are many people that know anything about that anymore.
Yeah, that's covering the rump with like a cheesecloth to get that.
Yeah, we covered the whole animal back then.
Okay.
So the whole sides were wrapped with this cheesecloth that was soaked. It was a linen cloth actually, soaked in a brine solution.
Okay.
That when you go back in time, if you've traveled the world and you see beef products outside of the U.S., not South America. South America was kind of in the same plane with us. But if you go into Europe, their fat was always yellow. Our fat is always white, and that came about as the bleaching effect of the brine.
Okay.
So, and the wrapping of that tight wrapping of the carcass when it went. By the way, it was really done. Wasn't done for that purpose. Actually, it was done for for being able to increase and maintain the yield because of the evaporation.
Okay.
It was a way back then to control bacteria in the coolers. Way back in I think it was probably in the 40s or 50s, I believe. Swift was a huge worldwide company in pork and beef production. They were equivalent to the JBSs and Tysons of today, but even a bigger footprint. And they developed processes over the years for one of the processes they developed was a process called spray chill.
Mm-hmm.
And their patents on that were around the fact that they injected chlorine into the water. So everybody wanted to do that, but you had to pay to Swift in order to do it. They called it, their specific brand was the Chlor-Chill. And then over time, as municipalities injected chlorine in anyway for bacteria control, that kind of went by the wayside. So today everybody does that. The big boys all have spray chill systems in the cooler to control losses on the weight losses and evaporation. But there are things like that went on.
Wow.
Once they started with that, they stopped with the shrouding. We still get white fat because of the chlorine in the water.
Mm.
So we introduced the first low voltage stimulators for beef. There were the high voltage stimulators around for a very long time, and everybody thought that was the only way you could do it. If you didn't do high voltage, but we realized that if you went low voltage, the very front end of the process in the blood pit, that you would remove a lot more blood. And you'd start the rigor mortis process a lot sooner than if you went up after the bandsaws and then did high voltage stimulation at that point. The other effect of using low voltage is that we didn't break backs and we didn't have tear loins or shoulders. So those are again big advantages.
I was going to ask about one of the most iconic tools that I see in my side of the industry is in the fabrication plants and mid-size, the smaller operations, is the Jarvis well saw. And I just wanted to know how long has that product been around for? What are its various uses?
I have a history of that simply because I know I met and knows the guy that had actually invented that.
Wow.
His name was Carl Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for the. There were three brothers, Wells family. The bandsaw HO80 when we first started, we bought that from George Wells. But there are two other brothers. One was in the making metal cutting bandsaws, and that was the brother that developed the actual well saw. So the first models were not developed for the meat industry at all. They were made for we bought the business in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
The well saw company was going bankrupt at the time. But what happened, the development of the saw was around the remodeling industry. So he envisioned the saw and the shape of the blade and the shape of the support. If you look at it, it looks like a handsaw.
Mm-hmm.
So wood handsaw. And his idea was that remodelers and construction industry would be able to use this, cut through through thick walls. So instead of going in and cutting it inside out and the outside and then cutting through your 2x4s or 2x6s, back then was mostly 2x4s, they could stick the saw right through and cut from either inside or outside and take a whole section out.
Yeah.
So you want to put a window in, you got the well saw. And they sold that through Sears and Montgomery Ward for many years. And then he was still doing experimenting, and it was picked up by somebody. They were in Three Rivers, Michigan, and Meat Packer had the idea that they could do braking with the saw, but the problem was that all of the blades up until that point were made out of three pieces, and they were spot welded together. We call it the laminate blade.
Okay.
And again, that was fine. Yeah, that was fine for for the wood industry. And then it found application on the farms for cutting up hay bales, and as time went on, and then somebody came up with this idea of using it in the coolers for braking. And at that point in time, he developed the one-piece blade and the guide system, which we still use today. But he started that product in the late 50s, so it's been around a very long time.
And what was it? Just the well saw then? When did the number start?
Actually, it started out as a 400.
Okay.
And then when they went to the meat side of the business, they went to the 404. The differences between the saws have to do with the ram. Okay. On the 400s, because you're going up against hard product, the ram had to stay inside the saw. When they went to the beef side of the business, they extended the ram outside the saw, because one of the big problems they always had is being able to retain the blade in the end of the ram.
Yeah.
By going outside the saw, they were able to put a ring around the end of it, which allowed them to put a lot more force on the retaining screw.
Wow. Chuck, last week I sent you a picture of an old well saw I used, and I'm just looking at that picture right now, and it's the 400. It has two red stripes on it, and the ram is inside the saw. So that's one of those.
That's a 400.
Yeah, that's one of those old, almost demo hand saws right there. And I used that for breaking beef at a game processor 10 years ago.
Yeah, so those saws, I still get calls, and we still supply parts for them. And not often anymore, but they're still out there, still operating. He went from that saw, and the industry asked for more power. They wanted to split animals, so he developed the 444 saw. And that was a much more powerful saw, heavier duty blading support. And that still has a tremendous utility in the beef industry. We sell quite a few of those. We sell loads of the 404s today. And the 404s have really a worldwide presence today. You see them everywhere. They're across the U.S. They're not just using, they're used on farms. They're used in paper industry. They're used in what they call the non-woven and woven industries. These are those, if you travel around and you see they're doing a construction site, you'll see all this erosion control that they put around today.
Okay.
Those rolls are very difficult to cut. But we developed a special blade, a knife blade.
Yeah.
We can put onto the saw for cutting those rolls.
Do these people know that they're using a saw that was designed for, or that is catered to the meat industry, or do they think they're using a saw that's the?
Well, it's typically we put that on the 400. So the 400s are still in that side of the industry, but I think that generally speaking, they see the saw as it fills the utility need that they have.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah. So nothing really more than that. That's what they look at it as. In the paper industry, if you can imagine, these rolls of paper weigh tons, and they can be 12 foot wide. And if you damage any part of it on the edge, you can't peel the paper off. It's like unrolling tape when you have a little tear or imperfection. It tears at that spot. So they take on that side of it, we make pneumatic saws because they have to be explosion proof, and special blades and supports. And they basically, what they do is they run down the side of this paper roll in its length, and they peel this paper off as like an onion. I mean,
Okay.
like you peel an onion apart. So we have utility in that end of it as well. But primarily it is the meat industry. Chuck on Chuck's side, excuse me. On Chuck's side of it, he's
Chuck, stop.
sorry, guys.
That's Mikey's, I think.
I'll call you back.
No, on our side, I always love hearing these stories about different products from Jarvis, and like Travis, like you said, I didn't know that this device was used for all these different industries, the 404s and 444s. But I've traveled in the field to all these different plants, small plants, large plants. Excuse me, and I don't know that I've seen one plant that didn't have a well saw in it. Doesn't matter what size they are. There's an application for this tool in almost any size plant that's out there.
Yeah. The plant I work at, we have two the breaking saw or the 404s in the manufacturing, and then we have a 444 in the split on the mobile unit. So it's, and then I've also every place I've worked for and visited for over a decade, has always had the 404. No matter on what method people are breaking beef or pork.
Yeah, these two saws, the well saw, the 404, 444s, is probably two of our largest mainstays for Bunzl as far as in sales and support, parts, things like that. It just as an example, I've got over 90 of these in stock today.
Yeah. So what's
we just know they're in demand.
Yeah. How long has Jarvis and Bunzl been in relationships for?
Mike might be able to answer this better. It started with, what was it, Bob Burns and Vince Volpe, I think, is where that relationship started. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, we were as far as the Bunzl Jarvis relationship goes, we were Bunzl bought up Packers Engineering, and our Packers Engineering relationship goes back into the early '60s. So we were with them for all those years, and I think, Chuck, how's it been now? It's probably, I'd say, we close to 20 years now.
For the Bunzl relationship?
The Bunzl, yeah.
Yeah. So for Bunzl as a company, they purchased Packers Engineering, I think, in 2001. So you're looking at 20 years there. They also bought Koch Supply Equipment. That was 2001. Packers was 2002. And then I worked for a company called Enterprise. We were also a Jarvis distributor, and that was in 2003. But dating back with Packers Engineering, like you said, with Bob Burns and Vince Volpe, that goes back into the early 60s. And that was a very, very tight relationship. I mean, I think Vince and Bob were on the road for many years together, selling different Jarvis equipment all over the Midwest, driving everywhere.
Well, all of Bob's sons called Vince Uncle Vinny. So they had they're a great family. I was fortunate to be welcomed into it as the time went on. I spent a lot of time out in Omaha and working with the sons, Bob's sons, traveling around selling product and servicing product, and they were always just great people. You couldn't go to Omaha. I couldn't go to Omaha anyway. The first thing Bob would do every Saturday morning is we'd have to go to church.
Nice.
But they're great people. The Bunzl relationship has really been outstanding for us. We had our misgivings. It's this big company coming along and much larger than Packers Engineering or all the other guys they bought up combined. But I would say today that the relationship is better than we've ever had with anyone. We talk regularly. And I say regularly. many times a day. If there's any issues they have with product or need something, or basically anything. We Chuck and I have, I think, traveled together on the gun side of the business. Our stunner at Stunning Tools, and I think we've got an outstanding relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did a whole episode, Chuck and I, about your stunning line. It was really great.
Yeah. I would tell you this, for me, as far as in my position with Bunzel, the relationship with Jarvis to me right now is basically second to none. I mean, I can pick up the phone. If Mike's not available, I have access to 3, 4, 5 different people that can get me the answers that the customer needs. But also, if we have a special need for a piece of equipment or a part for a machine that maybe we don't have in stock, which, granted, there's a lot of parts involved with this equipment, thousands and thousands of them. Bunzel stocks several thousand parts. We can't cover them all, but when we have that need for a special part that's not sold very often, I can make a phone call, and typically it's with Mike, and I have an answer either on that phone call or within the next 5 to 10 minutes. I'll have an answer as far as how fast I can get that equipment to them or that part to them. And it's kind of unique in the industry. Like Mike said, I don't recall that I've ever gotten a voicemail with anybody.
Yeah,
at Jarvis. And I didn't realize that you didn't have voicemail at all. I just assumed everybody was trained to pick up the phone and answer that call. So it is pretty unique in the industry to have that. But so far, our relationship, we've grown immensely with them. I talked to all the service technicians in the field. They're unique that way, that they service all of their equipment in these plants, and it doesn't matter the size. If you've got a piece of Jarvis equipment, you've got an issue that you can't repair yourself. If they can't get a technician to you soon enough, it can be sent into a repair shop and it can be repaired. And that's the type of relationship that Bunzel's looking for from our suppliers like a Jarvis, and it's worked out very, very well.
Nice. And then, Chuck, I want to talk about this amazing opportunity, I think, for meat processors of all sizes, is your Jarvis wellsaw giveaway that Bunzel is doing. So that's great. I think if you're a smaller business looking to expand your production, if you're a mid-sized business and you want to upscale from your hand saw, or if you just want to be greedy and enter, like what? Tell me about this giveaway.
So we will do this typically every fall in the game season, and this year's no different. We are in the process of having people register or sign up for a 404 wellsaw giveaway. And what it is, we're giving not only the motor assembly away, but you also get to have your choice of the blade and blade support length, whether it's 8-inch or 16-inch, standard duty or heavy duty. It doesn't matter. You choose. You're looking at about an $860 to $900 value or more on this giveaway. And it's as simple as just getting online to our website, bunzelpdpauldavid.com, or just calling into the office and have someone email to you the registration form. Just a real simple form. There's a few questions on it. Fill it out and email it back.
And that link will be in the show notes. So
yes. And the thing with this, it's so easy. There's no purchase required to get in on this. It goes through the whole month of October. October 31st is the deadline date on it. So you've got plenty of time still to register for this giveaway.
And then, Mike, I just wanted to touch on what with the company with such a strong retention of employees, a strong legacy, has been in the industry or staple in the industry for generation. What is the future of Jarvis looking like?
Well, we have gone from our not gone from. We have a standard product line that we continuously develop. We have a group of engineers who are constantly looking at the next innovation, that next thing that's going to help the industry. But beyond that, we've also moved into automation. So we're going now. We've been doing I will say this is actually 27 years of doing it. But we developed the first. I won't say the first automatic hog splitting saw, but the first high production automatic splitting saw. That was our JCK series of saws. We put many of those into the very largest of plants in the U.S. Mm-hmm. What happened on that product line is it got old. We then went and redesigned the whole product line to simplify it and make it a lot more, I say user friendly. People use that term, but in fact it is user friendly. It took a lot of the complexity out of it. We improved its efficiencies with respect to power. We got away from using pneumatic cylinders on the tools to servo motors that are use a lot less energy. Mm-hmm. And those saws right now are being sold worldwide. We're in almost all of the big boys today with those saws. We're doing a lot of business now in Europe, which has been the backyard of some of our competitors. So that part of the line is really taken off. We're right now in the development of a bandsaw beef splitting robot that's running in Dodge City, and it's a tough application. It's probably the toughest application there is. There's as a human running a bandsaw, as you can compensate. You can adjust for scoliosis. You can adjust for broken backs. Mm-hmm. The bandsaw doesn't have that opportunity to do that. So we've had to develop these technologies that to keep that whole thing working, and we're doing quite well. Mm-hmm. It's going to be probably another 2 or 3 months before we're fully online with all of the things that we have to do to it. Mm-hmm. But we certainly expect ourselves to be there. But we're doing a lot of robotics work today that beyond the standard product line. So as far as the future goes, we're in the same boat with just about everybody around the country, and that's getting skilled help. So internally, what we do today is that we do a tremendous amount of training. Mm-hmm. When somebody starts here, the first thing that they do is first 3 months they go into our inspection department. They learn how to inspect parts, how to read the blueprints. That's before they even hit the floor. Mm-hmm. And once they get out onto the floor, they spend another 3 months with our what we call our department heads, where they'll learn how the machines run, how to set them up. And so we years ago there used to be these apprentice programs, and they went by the wayside in the machine tool industry. Nobody was doing that anymore. We're back to doing that again.
Nice.
And we know that we've got to develop people to promote, continue on with the business through more generations.
Yeah.
On the management side, we have people that are coming in. As an example, for myself here, we realize that one of the big problems that we're going to face in the future is the facilities. I've handled all of that for many years, and I brought in a guy recently I'm grooming him to take over facilities. So my involvement has been, as far as Jarvis goes, with the besides manufacturing, which is my primary concern, and then of course operations. But on the facility side, the buildings that we build, and not just here but around the world, overseeing what goes on into them and the design and construction. Again, so a lot of things are for us are changing today. Well, our owners, they see the need to do that to continue on. So yeah, the future is very bright, I believe.
That's great to hear. And I just want to ask, where could people find you guys and reach you? Mike, I'll start with you.
What, I'm sorry?
Where could people, reach you, and what's your website if people are interested in?
Oh, my person, if they want to reach me, I give everyone my phone number, my cell phone number. But for many years, before cell phones, I gave them all my home phone number.
Oh.
But that's the kind of company we are.
Yeah.
If you need to get a hold of us, you're going to get a hold of us.
Yeah.
When I talked earlier on at the beginning about Jarvis getting down and dirty with the customer, that's been a very, very big part of our DNA. When we go in to do a job, or we're called by a customer, no matter where they are, who they are, we assume that they're in trouble. They wouldn't be calling otherwise. And we throw everyone at it that we possibly can. I've over the years, I've had many calls from customers, small and large, who tell me, you've got this service guy that we just cannot believe what he has done. Or, a little guy who's saying, I cannot believe that you picked the product up in your Omaha office, drove it to another service guy who drove it to my plant, and got it in the same day.
Yeah.
He said that nobody does that. So those are the kinds of things that we do. But with respect to getting a hold of me, my email address is Abdul, so it's MABDUL at Jarvis.products.com.
Awesome. And then Chuck, where could people get a hold of you? And if they want to, in the website, they could, again, to enter the contest.
Yeah. So for me, I have a cell phone as well. My personal cell phone number is 319-573-6121. They can call our main office line. It's an 800 number, 800-456-5624, and talk to anyone in customer service to obtain, the registration form to get signed up. Or they can go to our website, Bunzel, BUN, Z as in zebra, L, P as in Paul, D as in David.com, bunzelpd.com.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys both so much for joining me this evening. And I think this is going to be a good episode. I think there's a lot of good information in here. And I think people are going to be surprised by the long history of Jarvis. So thank you both.
All right. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. As I said, I enjoy the opportunity to get out there and talk about Jarvis. It's more than a company I work for me. I've been around here so many years that the Jarvis family. I'm now, like I said, fourth generation. So I started with the grandfather, and then father and son, and now his sons.
Nice.
But they've been outstanding people to be associated with.
Awesome.
Yep. And on behalf of Bunzel Processor Division, we appreciate this opportunity, Travis. And Jarvis and Bunzel are partnered up, and we hope to continue that relationship in the long term.
All right, it's me again. And those links will be in the show notes. I just want to say thanks again to Chuck. Thanks again, Mike. You guys really know so much. And I hope you guys found this informative. The listener, that's what I mean. And if you want to enter that contest to win that Jarvis 404 well saw, then check out the show notes. Again, thanks to everyone for listening. And if you like the show, forward it to a friend. Like and subscribe. And please leave a comment. All right, until next time, keep your knives sharp and live in the margin.